Okay, boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this evening. We have an incredible guest with us tonight, one who's going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than Student Minister Lee out of Fort Worth, Texas. First of all, assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam.
This means a lot to myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast that you would take time out of your busy schedule to come have a conversation with us, sir. The first question that we want to know from you is when did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
Okay, well, I'll have to give my age away to do that. But in 1989, okay, I was in high school in the 12th grade, and I had never heard of Minister Farrakhan up to that point. The first time I heard his name was on a rap album because I was an aspiring rapper, right?
Okay.
And Public Enemy had the words to their song. When you pulled out the vinyl, they had a covering with the words to every song. One day I decided I was going to listen to the whole album and read along as they rapped, okay? So when they started talking about Farrakhan, and the last song they said, it was Party for Your Right to Fight. And in that last song, it said, words from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, know who you are to be black. Okay, I was blown away. I didn't know who Elijah Muhammad was. I didn't know who Farrakhan was. I didn't know their connection to one another. And I had never heard of Malcolm X. Now, mind you, Brother Joshua, I'm in a 95% to 97% all black school, okay? And I didn't know this, okay? So when I heard of Farrakhan's name, I had a brother, his name was Derek, who was in my photography class. And he had a New York accent. He was from New York, and every Christmas vacation and every summer he would go see his father in New York. Well, during the Christmas vacation, when he came back, he brought a tape with him. And it was a Farrakhan tape. And because I had heard of the name, I wanted to hear what the man was talking about. Since Chuck D said, don't tell me that you understand until you heard the man. So I wanted to hear the man. So I asked the brother, I said, can I borrow this tape? He said, yes, but you have to bring it back tomorrow. So I only had one shot to listen to this. So as soon as I went home, I put the cassette in there, and look, I was in church at the time, right? I grew up in church. I heard many good preachers, but I never heard a man preach like that. And the name of that tape was Power at Last and Forever. And when I heard that tape, that completely changed my whole trajectory in life, because now I want to know more about Islam. So I went to the school library and watched this. I found out they had the autobiography of Malcolm X in there, right? So I went in there, I got the book, I read the book, and he kept saying, Mr. Muhammad said, Mr. Muhammad said, Mr. Muhammad said. Well, I said, well, who is Mr. Muhammad? I'm putting all the pieces together now. So there was a black bookstore, and again, I'm giving away my age. We used to have yellow pages, okay? It wasn't you couldn't get on no internet and look up no bookstores, nothing. We had the yellow pages, okay? They would take it to your house and put it on your doorstep. So I had to look and find a black bookstore, and it was black images. And I went and I got my first copy of Message to the Black Man by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It wasn't 3 days didn't pass by. Over the weekend, I read that book, and halfway through the book, I said, boy, can't nobody make up nothing like this. Okay, so I heard the minister, I read Message to the Black Man, and then one day, me and my buddies, we went out to a store. One was looking for a job. He had an application to turn in, and somebody had put a poster of Minister Farrakhan on the wall. Now, unfortunately, he had already came through Dallas, so I missed him. But I remember standing there, Brother Joshua, staring at the face of this man and just soaking in his features, because I heard the message from him. And I read Message to the Black Man, and I'm looking at this beautiful man, and I say, man, one day I want to meet this man. And so that began my journey to study Islam. I met along the way, I studied with 5%ers along the way. I went to the Sunni mosque and sat with them and I studied, but nothing really appealed to me more than the way and the manner in which the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan taught Islam. And so I had a friend that I went to school with. His name was Brother Charles. We went to the same high school. And when Charles was in high school, Charles was a rapper too, and he used to wear a red Kango hat. And he used to wear some warm-ups with one pants leg rolled up, right? He used to have a wife beater shirt on, right? But when I saw him, we both graduated, and I saw him at a Harambe festival, and somebody had ran up to me and they said, man, I just saw Brother Charles, man. He in the Nation of Islam. I said, what? Charles? I walked up to Brother Charles. Brother Charles had a bean pie in one hand and a final call in the other hand. I said, Charles? He said, final call? I said, Charles. He said, bean pie? And he was so clean and he was so shiny. And I said, man, where is the mosque? Because if the mosque can transform you like that, I want to know where it's at. And so that's how I began going to the mosque. And eventually, me and my wife, we accepted, because I got married outside of the nation, actually. And we went at the same day, accepted the same day, got registered around the same day. And we've been married now for 29 years. All praise due to Allah, because I have to say this. People ask me for marriage counseling all the time, Brother Joshua. And what I tell them is the only marriage counseling I had was one cassette tape that I got from the mosque. It was called Keys to a Successful Marriage. And I played that tape over and over and over again to the tape popped, like Biggie Smalls would say, to the tape popped. And then I had to piece it back together and keep listening to it again. But those principles that he taught, that I've tried to live up to, I will give the credit to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for giving me the keys to a successful marriage. So that's my story in a nutshell, how I came into Islam and joined the mosque.
All praise due to Allah. Yes, sir. And you have people all over the country showing you love. My sister Naima says beautiful. Dr. Henry M. Carter says power, or people organized to work for economic birth. Brother Tamikwa Muhammad says, Assalamu alaikum family. Minister Lee. My sister Miriam sends a greeting. Sister Salima sends a greeting. Honest Drippin says peace family. Sister Rachel Muhammad says listening from Fort Worth, Texas, mosque number 52. People, thank you all for showing your love all across the country to the People's Podcast and to Student Minister Lee. Okay, so once you accept the teachings, how did your family and friends feel about it, sir?
Wow. I had some good friends that when I told, because we had a rap group, okay? I was an up and inspiring rapper. And we actually used to go to shows and open up for big celebrities and whatnot, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, your KRS-Ones and whatnot. We opened up for them. I really had a rap career, but Joshua. But anyway, one of my friends, after I read Message to the Black Man, I told him, I said, man, I think I want to be a Muslim. I'm gonna be a Muslim. And he was a Seventh-day Adventist, and I remember him saying, you know, brother, he said, that's good, you know? And I had friends who understood, but of course I had some friends who did not understand, but which was okay, because, you know, if you lose friends behind trying to change your life around and be righteous, I've learned that Allah has new friends for you, okay? And when I accepted Islam and I began to study, God would send people into my life who were studying the same thing I was studying. I can have conversation with them. So whatever you lose for the sake of truth, God has a replacement for it. Now, of course, my family, it was a rough ride at first because, again, Brother Joshua, I was in church, okay? They were grooming me to be a youth pastor at the time. When I read Message to the Black Man, I was so upset that I went through my whole life not knowing this. I went through what you call a zealot phase. I was very zealous, okay? So zealous that one day I took Message to the Black Man in church with me. And I sat down on the front row with Message to the Black Man, and I put it on my lap for the preacher to see it, okay? And I walked out with it. And I remember an older brother And I didn't notice at the time, but he was a Mason. And I remember him telling me as I was walking out of that church, he looked down at the book and he told me, "You keep reading that." See, so that's when I realized that people know these kind of things. People that don't say nothing, they had a brush with Islam, or they know the power of it, and they see you getting into it, and they see a transformation taking place in your lives, and they say, well, if it works for you, you keep reading that. All right. Now, of course, my family, I had to prove to them that I was serious, right? You know how the scriptures say a prophet is not without honor except in his own house.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right? Yes, sir.
So they knew me growing up. They thought I lost my mind. I stopped eating pork, right? I started eating one meal a day. Like, I went cold turkey on one meal a day. I mean, just cold turkey. I didn't gradually stop nothing. I just went to one meal a day. They thought I was going crazy. All right. Christmas rolled around. I told them I ain't celebrating Christmas no more. It's a pagan holiday. It has nothing to do with Jesus. I'm learning all this stuff from listening to tapes and reading books, right? They think I'm going crazy. They ain't taking me serious. So they buy me Christmas gifts, on Christmas. And then when I didn't buy them no Christmas gift, they start figuring out, oh, this man might be serious right here. But I'll tell you what, Brother Joshua, to this day, my parents will tell me that they respect me for the choice that I made. My stepfather would tell me, look, you could have been anything you want to be in this world, but you chose to give your life over to God. And for that, I respect you, right? My mother respects me, right? In fact, about it, my family members come to me seeking advice. Okay? When they're in trouble, they know who to go to. They come to me and they seek advice, and I give them wisdom that I got from my teachers, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan, and they take that wisdom and they fix the problem and they keep it moving. So I don't regret anything. I thank Allah that I still have the love and respect of my family, and the friends that I can still call friends. But as I said before, most of all, I thank him for the new friend that he chose for me in Islam. All praise is due to Allah.
All praise is due to Allah. Yes, sir. You teaching, bro, minister, people showing you love all across the country. And I can't wait to put this on YouTube. Please let us know what city you all are watching from. Now, Brother Minister, I had a question for you. So I'm an artist, performer and actor. I'm into the arts. So when you were rapping, what type of rapper would you say, what was your trajectory? You was like LL Cool J, you from Texas, so you was more like Ghetto Boys? Like, what type of rapping were you doing?
No, brother. Listen, first of all, before that, pre-rap, I was breakdancing.
Okay.
Art was my love, so I was graffiti artist, breakdancer, right? I got into a little DJing, right? Bought me a little drum machine, Then I got into the rap thing. And I was heavily influenced by East Coast rap, particularly KRS-One, You Must Learn, Public Enemy, Fighting the Power.
Yes, sir.
Rakim, in my humble opinion, one of the greatest lyricists of all time, if not the greatest lyricist of all time. Rakim, his Follow the Leader song. Those are the type of songs that I was into. And my rap group, matter of fact, when I bought Message to the Black Man, after I read it, I passed it around. Okay. Now anybody that's been a Muslim for a minute, you didn't lost a lot of Message to the Black Man by letting people borrow, right? Okay. Yeah. So I never saw that book again, but I passed it right, and everybody read it. And once everybody read it, we all got on the same page, and our rap began to reflect what we read in Message to the Black Man. So that was our influence, and then we would start sampling the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan into our records. I even had the opportunity once. There's a movie floating around there somewhere called Across the Bridge that I was in, and we had a scene in there where we were performing on stage, right? It's floating around there somewhere. But in that rap song, we had sampled the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan in that rap song. And it's in that movie somewhere floating around. Maybe maybe when I get old and they do my autobiography, they'll put it back up, Brother Joshua. But that was my influence. My influence was East Coast rap, positive rap in particular. And I have to say this. At that time in 1989, we had made regional and national news because some of our students had got into robbing, okay? And to this day, and they served some time too, like 20 to 25, okay? And if you ask them right now, you know, what influenced them, they said, man, we was listening to gangster rap, you know, and they was talking about, you know, everybody get on the floor, nobody move, nobody get hurt. And it sounded so dramatic to them, they actually tried to live that out. So at that time, Brother Joshua, 1989, 1990, 1991, we were at a crossroad. We had two choices to make, okay? There was positive rap, or there was rap that glamorized the street life, okay? Those who took the positive rap, we started wearing African medallions and dashikis and whatnot. Those other ones chose to actually go buy guns, okay? And I thank Allah that I made that choice to be influenced by that positive rap music. And I thank Allah that I had an opportunity to put that on the songs and influence people for whatever I could do in that little time period that I have. I don't know. I may come out of retirement. I may come out of retirement, and you know, like the minister had to put his violin down, you know, for the ministry. I might pick up the microphone again, but
you want to pick up the mic again, bro?
Yeah, but it would definitely be positive hip hop that I would be rapping.
Beautiful, yes, sir. Shout out to all the positive hip hoppers. Sister Rachel Muhammad says, go to Mosque number 52. To hear student minister lead on the repair of the Black family on YouTube. Sister Rosa Muhammad, shout out to Sister Rosa. I interviewed her and her husband before. Mosque number 52 in the house of Salima, Fort Worth. People are showing love all across the country. Can't wait to put this on YouTube, our minister. My next question for you is, when you came in, who trained you? What was that like when you came into the mosque in Fort Worth in the early days?
Oh, brother, I thank Allah for Brother David, who was a lieutenant of mine. There was Brother Philip, who was a lieutenant of mine. There was Brother Monroe, who was a lieutenant of mine. And, you know, I had never, you know, I was always a loner. I'm gonna be honest with you. I always like to roll alone, right? The first night that I came to FOI class, after I accepted, and you know, Brother Monroe was my first lieutenant. He was talking about, okay, well, tomorrow, you know, you need to buy a suit because tomorrow we're going to be on the block with the Final Call newspaper. In my mind, I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I was driving home, Brother Joshua. I said, man, I'm not going back there. I'm not going back there. And you know what? Like Dharma Elijah Muhammad, when he was on that train going back to Georgia.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And as the wheels was turning, he heard a voice come up. Do you think that man will be left on saying they believe and not be tried? A thought literally came to my mind. Lee, you started a lot of things and never finished it. Don't let this be one of the things that you start and don't finish. So I went and bought me a suit, Brother Joshua, went back the next day, met them on the block. And since I've been in the Nation of Islam since 1994, there's not a day I have not been pushing the Final Call newspaper. And I owe that to lieutenants, because at that time, man, lieutenants trained you. You know, Brother Monroe would say, call me every day when you get off work. And I would call him and he'd just tell me what block to hit. I thought we were gonna have a conversation. Now he was just telling me what to hit, you know, hit on this corner, hit on that corner. But they trained me, man, and I never had those uncle figures. These are like older brothers, like Brother David, Brother Phil. These were older brothers who became like uncles, right? And would teach me little simple things that I never thought about as a man, you know, as in how to treat your wife. You know, when she's walking up the stairs, you walk behind her in case she falls, you break her fall. I never thought about that. You know, if you're walking on the sidewalk, you walk on the side where the cars are in case the car jumps the curb, you can get hit first and push her out the way. I never thought about that. But these were men who were teaching me practical things. You know, I'd already, you know, I like I said, I had a brush with the 5%ers. So when I recited, I remember Brother Philip, after I recited, he said, man, I never heard anybody recite student enrollment like that and didn't make not one mistake. You didn't pause at all, right? It's because I had already been studying it by the grace of Allah, and I learned good study habits, right? But whatever I learned then, look, you can't replace divine guidance. Okay, you can have all the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Okay, but guidance for somebody just take you in their hip pocket and show you the ropes, take you out on the block and show you how to push your final call. I thank Allah for these men, and now I'm at that age where people are looking at me like that, for me to put them in my hip pocket and show them, how to survive the war of Armageddon. The barbed wires, the things that's gonna come in your way, the hypocrites that's gonna be biting on you, how to maneuver through that, how to recognize the hypocrite, how to recognize when you've been affected. They taught me all of these things. See, so when I saw it coming, I was able to withstand. And I had people, I ran into people that I really thought was trying to run me out, but by the grace of Allah, I'm still here. You understand? And one day I was talking, I had the opportunity to talk on the telephone with the late, great, may Allah be pleased with him, Lucius B.I., the Dean of the Ministers.
Yes, sir.
And I asked him about, man, how did you last so long? You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And he's like, man, you have to stay rooted in the word. If you're rooted in the word, when the winds come, the winds can't uproot you if you're rooted in that word. That's why he was called the Dean of the Ministers, because his job was to get the people rooted in that word.
Yes, sir. Yes,
so
sir.
I thank Allah. These are the men that had an effect on me in my early age, a baby Muslim. And I thank Allah for them. And by the grace of Allah, I'm still here. Matter of fact, I'll close with this one point. Another thing, I remember Brother David used to teach us how to do details. Okay? Look, one of my first details, I got to share this story, right? One of my first details, Dr. Khalid had came to town. This was my first detail. I had the first officer sitting next to me. I had the captain sitting right behind me. And I had another lieutenant in the back seat. And I'm driving. I'm following the lead car. And they all in my ear, Brother Joshua. Drive faster. Now look, man, I was taught to obey the speed. Don't cut people off and whatnot. They all in my ear. Lee, you drive like my grandmama. You need to pick up the speed, man. So I'm learning to do this detail, right? But they thank me. At the end of the day, they say, man, look, we called everybody to show up and you showed up. All praise due to Allah. But it's things like that, man, they just threw me into the fry, bro, Josh. Just threw me in the fry, man. And we had to learn things like that, how to do details, how to walk the perimeter. When nobody else would show up, we would have to walk the perimeter at a Wednesday night meeting. And they would say, brother, I want you to walk around and look like you got death on your face.
Wow, Akbar.
And we were so in love and so rooted in the word, brother, that we were willing to give our life.
Beautiful.
And still are willing to give our life for this truth, brother. All praise due to Allah.
All praise due to Allah. Yes, sir. And people are showing you love once again all over the country. Continue this on the job training. People just showing you love. Fort Worth, Texas. People representing. Yes, sir. Now, my next question for you, sir, is what was it like with Dr. Khalid? What was that interaction like in coming to Texas?
Now I got a lot of opportunities to sit and talk with Dr. Khalid, and many people would come to, because I was in Dallas at the time. That's the mosque that I registered in, right before I moved to Texarkana and then moved to Fort Worth. So I was in Dallas, and a lot of people would come down. Your Brother Jabrils would come down, and I had a lot of opportunities to talk with Brother Jabril. I thank Brother Jabril for instilling that study in me. Dr. Khalid, he instilled soldier in you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
I mean that if there was ever was a soldier, it was Dr. Khalid.
Yes,
and he would just sometimes he would come, he wouldn't even speak at the meeting. Somebody else would be speaking, but he'd just be walking around giving people instructions. on how to do things, how to act, you know, how to look, how to respond to certain things. So, you know, so I remember, you know, Dr. Khalid, man, you know, always just teaching us to be soldiers, you know, and I thank Allah for what he did teach me as far as being a soldier. So yeah, just generally speaking, you know, he just taught us how to be a soldier, man, and how to, you know, how to support the minister, you know. He taught us witness bearing 101. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's right. Go ahead. You know what I mean? Yeah, y'all gotta act like y'all got some life up in here, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He taught us the technique of how to get people. Because Dr. Khalid, you know, sometimes we would go out and he would teach us how to fish, man. You know, and Dr. Khalid was the type of person who would actually sit on a curb and just talk to somebody. You know, and he really taught us how to have love for the people and really go out and just go down to their level and sit down on the curb with them and talk with them. So that would be my fondest memories of the late great Dr. Khalid.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Now let's talk about the studying that Brother Jabril taught you. What was that like? What did he say?
Oh, brother. Let me say this. When I came in 94, I would go to study group and I would simply make comments, right? It's 94. By the first part of 95, before we went to the Million Man March in 1995, I was made the assistant minister. Okay, so a year didn't pass, right? So because of that, I thank Allah, because my minister at that time, student minister Jeffrey, always invited Brother Jabril to come to the city. And Brother Jabril, he really, you know, he would go to the Rashman, he would teach, but what he really liked to do was sit down with the laborers and the staff, you know, the lieutenants and the assistant ministers, and teach us the value of the word of God.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right? And he would teach us how to study. I remember one time he gave us a lesson on how to get and keep the spirit of Allah. Right? And he said, this is what I want you to do. He went to Message to the Black Man and he picked an article, okay, out of Message to the Black Man. He said, this is what I want you all to do. He said, I want you to take out a sheet of paper and a pen, and I want you to write down I want you to write the letter A, right? And then write down that first sentence. And then I want you to make an indentation, and I want you to write down 1. Then I want you to write down the second sentence, and then 2, the third sentence, 3, the third sentence, the fourth sentence, and so forth and so on. However many sentences it was in that paragraph. And he was showing us how the Almighty Elijah Muhammad wrote everything in a mathematical formula.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because the first sentence was the main idea, and the other sentences was supporting that main idea. And we were sitting there, Brother Josh, we writing this, and you can hear people say, grunting and carrying on, because we slowed down and started writing the same way we wrote our letter to get registered. We wrote down his words. We started getting into his mind and started getting into his spirit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That lesson that Brother Jabril taught us, I'll never forget that lesson. And he was, I remember one time he came and I was his assistant minister, so he came to me and said, but I need to go to a Islamic bookstore. You know any Islamic bookstore? I said, yes, sir. He said, how soon can we get there? I said, about 30 minutes. He said, about 30 minutes, huh? He said, so you mean to tell me that it's gonna take us 5 minutes to get to the parking lot, right? 5 minutes to get onto the freeway, taking into consideration the speed limit. Yes, how long is it gonna take to park? That's the way he thought, man. I'm just telling you. He thought like that. And he said, okay. And so I said, okay, Brother Jabril, maybe about 45 minutes. He said, okay, thank you. And I remember a fond memory I had. I was in the back seat with him driving, right? And we was in the north side of Dallas where they got these big old mansions. And we passed by a house that had a golf course in the back. I said, man, white people got their own little world back here. He said, little world, brother? Say, no, they built a big world. He said, but now it's our time. Our world is coming in. See, all this stuff that they building, they really building for us. They're gonna be hammering to the last minute, right? But yeah, I think a lot. And I quote Brother Jabril all the time, you know, because he, you know, one time he gave us this assignment in Fall of America, where it talks about when JFK and Martin Luther King spoke up for the Negro. And it talks about the assassination of Kennedy and the assassination of Martin Luther King. And he said the Almighty Elijah Muhammad had 3 main points that he wanted to get across in this article, right? And we had to go and break that thing down and figure out the points that he had to make. So he would teach us how to study like that. He would tell us to memorize whole chapters, you know, because he wanted us to get rooted in that word. And so he went on this tour. I remember in the early 90s, he went on a tour called Tightening Up the House. Okay. And I think we need a tour like that right now to tighten up the house. And we can't tighten up the house, brother, unless we all get our minds focused on the way and the mission of the Almighty Elijah Muhammad as taught by the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan. So I thank Allah for him. All praise due to Allah.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. People are showing love all over the country. Brother Minister. Now, Brother Minister, we have, I'm not going to say a few more questions. We have quite a few more questions for you. But we have a quick 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast this month. I want to thank everyone who continue to show love across Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Every sponsorship, every donation, everything that we've seen on People's Podcast, anonymous businesses, we appreciate them all. Please cash app the People's Podcast. My brother Rashad, Street Premier Media Production. He has a 4K camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. Please reach out to him. My sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me children's book, coloring book, and now Spanish book. All 3 available on Amazon. Please go get those. My sister Naima, Stay On Point Dance Academy, LLC. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country and right here in the studio in Atlanta, Georgia. We love our tiny dancers. Raw Communication. If you're working on a book and you need content development, media relations, anything we're working on a book, please reach out to Raw Communications, editing as well. Fashion Gods, Urban Streetwear, 314-329-6009. He'll keep you dripping in the best of fashion, high-end clothes. Student Minister Robert L. Muhammad out of Austin, Texas, conflict mediation, squashing the beef throughout the Southwest region. He does a phenomenal job. His wife, Sister Fudia Muhammad, children of the Most High, giving birth to a God, the science of child rearing. Also, Brother Kenneth, bow tie maker extraordinaire. He'll ship bow ties to you anywhere in the nation. Dr. Henry M. Carter, King Henry Turkey Legs, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Rashad Muhammad, COVID-19 disinfecting cleaning services out of Chicago. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, AbdulSharif.com. Last but not least, my 2 books, Cleopatra, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are available on Amazon. Thank you all. Right back to our brother, Student Minister Lee, out of Fort Worth, Texas, is doing a phenomenal job. And thank you, everyone who continues to show love to our brother. Okay, yes, sir. Now, Brother Minister, my next question is, what was it like with your first interaction, meeting with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan?
Oh, the first time, I had just moved to Texarkana in 97, okay, to help out in the study group in that city. And we had a ministers conference that same year. Actually, it was laborers. All the laborers came down. And of course, after the meeting, we were invited to dinner, okay? And I thought, Brother Joshua, I knew how to eat until I went and had dinner with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I really did. You know, but the way that, the atmosphere, the peaceful atmosphere, the high level of conversation, and having the honor of just being in his presence in the same room. When he walks into a room, this is no exaggeration, he literally lights a room up. Okay. And he walked in, he sat down and he talked. And I remember that first dinner. Okay. And I thought, after they brought out the appetizers, right? They brought out the main meal, they had dessert. I thought it was about to be over, right?
Yes, sir.
The minister said, "What a coffee at?" And they brought out some coffee. And I remember Abdul Rahman was there, right? Boy, and they start kicking around old war stories from prior to 75. I'm just drinking it all in. The minister, he talking about when the mosque was attacked in New York and everything that they went through and how they defended the mosque. And Rahman is talking about, what things that went down in Georgia and whatnot. They kicking around all these stories. Man, like 2:00 in the morning. Seriously, But you know what? When you first come in contact with these teachings, it's like you can stay up all night talking about it because of the high level of energy. So when you got good food, good conversation, no music, just good conversation, man, the spirit was so high. And then of course, after that, he stood at the door and everybody walked out and he wanted to greet and shake everybody's hand. And that's the first time I got to shake the hand of the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan. And I told him a little bit I told him where I was working at, what I was doing. And these are the words that if I don't hear nothing else, if I hear him say these words, I'll be all right. When he say, well, brother, may Allah continue to bless you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If I can hear those words, that's enough for me. So when he told me that, I was all praise due to Allah. Now I can tell my great-grandchildren I met the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan. Okay, but that was my first experience meeting him, and I've had more, but I'll never forget that first time having dinner at the palace.
Beautiful, praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. And people are showing love. I don't want to butcher your name, but Tamikisha Green says the People's Podcast. Thank you, sir. Your work is work. Thank you. Sister Katina showing love, and so many people showing you love, bro. Minister all across the country. Okay, my next question is: has there ever been a time where you were faced with fear in life? And if so, how did you overcome that fear?
Is this fear in life pre-Islam or after Islam? Just anytime. Huh?
Anytime, yes, sir.
Anytime. Well, yeah, I've been faced with fear. Generally speaking, I handle fear better now. Okay, when I came into Islam, I was like the minister, man. It's like now, man, you ready to kill concrete now. Once you get the teachers, man, And I recently, not too long ago, I was walking one day and the pit bull started coming toward me, right? And I remember what Mr. Farrakhan said about that bull.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And sure enough, man, that bad boy, I looked at him, he looked at me, he stopped, and he walked off and went the other way. I said, all praise due to Allah. So to handle fear, you basically got to face it. My fear was like, believe it or not, brother, I've always had a fear. Before Islam, I had a fear of public speaking. I had a fear of standing in front of a group of people and saying anything. Okay. I remember I was in school, I had to recite a poem, right? And boy, I was turned up. I was just falling apart trying to do this, right? Because the poem really didn't mean nothing to me. You know what I mean? But I had to get the grade, so I had to say this poem, right? And so the way I made it through was, even though I had a fear of public speaking, I practiced it so much that even though I was afraid, I was prepared. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
so
sir.
being prepared made it a little easier to face the fear. But when you're not prepared, then that makes matters even worse. So then, of course, I became a student minister, assistant minister actually. They put me on the rostrum, okay, and I just studied the teachers. I didn't know I could really speak well, and I would just get up there and I would just start teaching what I know, and people would respond. But before that, before I even joined the nation, I would start teaching in my living room to my family, right? And they start calling me a preacher then. I wasn't even registered yet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because again, all my life when I was living with my parents, I was secluded. I would stay in my room. I wouldn't say nothing. I was very quiet. But when I heard the teaching on Brother Muhammad, then that fear of speaking up, right? That was gone. Now I had something to talk about, right? So the way I face fear in the world, and the way I face fear is now I just call on Allah. That's the way you do it now.
Yes, sir.
I always believed in God. I didn't know the name Allah, but I believed in God. And when I got in trouble, like we all get in trouble sometimes, you call on God, right? And I was so into scripture that when I was in junior high school, I sat down and read the Gospels. You understand? So when I heard Minister Farrakhan start teaching, then now everything, all of those questions that I had about scripture, now they all begin to make sense. I said, okay, so now I heard this line over here roaring, right? I said, man, I think I can roar like that too, you know? And so Minister Farrakhan is a man that teaches us how to cast out fear, because the scripture says, Brother Josh, for perfect love cast out fear.
That's
right? So if you just concentrate on the love, then the fear will dissipate, right? If you focus on the motive of why you're doing what you're doing, and you look past all of the fear, you face that, you overcome it. Yes, look, people ask me all the time, brother, how do you overcome nervousness when you stand in front of the people of God to give a lecture? I said, you don't. You don't, right? You will always have butterflies in your stomach. In fact, I heard Brother Akbar say this one time. He said, the day you don't have butterflies in your stomach, you need to check yourself. You may be getting a little bit too arrogant, okay? But yeah, I'm always nervous when I stand before the people, but I always say a prayer before I stand before the people of God. And I ask God to assist me, because in a Muslim's life, beloved, after Assalamu alaikum, Bismillah is the most important statement that a Muslim child learns.
That's right.
In the name of Allah. And so that's what I try to do. I try to do everything in the name of Allah. And if you call Allah, God, to the forefront of your mind, you can face whatever fear that may be in front of you.
All praises to Allah. Yes, sir, you teach it, Brother Minister. Muhammad Muslim 52, first time I ever got the Mosque watching. Yes, sir. It said perfect love cast out fear. Katina showing love. Sister Salima, Sister Minister Aisha out of Phoenix. People are showing you love all across the country. But Minister, my sister's name is all praise due to Allah as well. My next question is the Million Man March. What was the climate like in Texas leading up to the Million Man March, and how did it personally impact you?
Ooh, man. I was on the local organizing committee, brother. I remember, I tell people this story, because I believed in that march. I didn't know what a million men was going to look like, but I believe that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is divinely guided. I believe he's fulfilling scripture. And so when he said he wanted a million man march, we went to work, brother. You hear me? We said, no, look, we pushed all day. We went to the club at night, and as they was coming out the club, we was passing out flyers and whatnot. And I remember they said, well, we need to raise money for the march. So we got this idea. At that time, the paper was only $1. Okay. They came out with a special edition, and we were going to sell it for $2, and we were going to go dollar for dollar, turn all the money in for the Million Man March. I believed in this march so much, brother. I took my bundle stack, right? Actually, we had 2 bundle stacks, but I took the first bundle stack and I went out to my old stumping ground. It was in front of a mall. And I saw all of my classmates driving by, right? And I stood out there from 9 in the morning to 5 in the evening and sold 100 papers for $2 a piece back then. And I was telling them, we're doing this as a special edition. We're asking for $2. Would you help us? I went back at that evening, and my captain, Brother Derek, had to make a report. And he asked the lieutenants, do we have any soldier that did at least 100 papers a day? They said, Brother Lee. Brother Lee did it. All praise due to Allah. And we that's how we work, brother. We work so hard, brother, that I would be at the red light and I would fall asleep at the red light because I was working so hard. And the only thing that would wake me up was cars would be passing by honking their horn. We work, brother. You hear me? Sun up to sundown. And I remember the minister said, right as we were getting closer to the march, he said, I'm going to go on a 30-day fast. See, and I want all the laborers to go on a 2-week fast. And I want all the officials to go on a 10-day fast. He said, and if you die, you just die. It'll be a sacrifice. And we did it. We went on a fast, you know, and we prepared ourselves for it, man. And we got all the buses together. And I remember all the buses coming up to the mosque and mothers and sending their children off and their sons off. And it was just a beautiful spirit, man. And some people got vans and we were just on our way to the march. We were just, we going to the march, the Million Man March. Again, we didn't know what it was going to look like. But man, we just believed this thing was going to happen. And when we got there, they put me, the first post I was on, they put me in front of the Washington Monument. Okay? And that's on a hill. You know, that little old bitty obelisk. That's on a hill. And on that hill, if you look over the back of the hill, you can see people walking up the hill. You look down, you can see the sea of black men, right? So I saw white people coming to work that day with their briefcase and say, oh my God. And they turned right back around and went home. I'm witnessing this. I'm looking at this. I saw the buses line up. I saw people walking over the hill. And once they got on the top of the hill and they looked down and they saw that sea of black men, I saw grown men break down and cry. They never saw nothing like that before. And you had brothers, there was a brother who got up, who tried to get up and climb up on a wall. And I would simply say, brother, would you please get down? And they just got down. You know, the crowd control, I talk to the police chief all the time and I'll be telling them, man, look, we was over crowd control at the Million Man March, right? And the Muslims, we made up like 5% of all the people that was there, but we was over crowd control, right? And the way we were able to do crowd control was that we talked to our people with love and respect. The way it affected me personally, brother, is that as I stood and I looked down at that sea of black men, the thought that came to my mind, the exact words that I said to myself that my faith in Master Fard Muhammad has been sealed. That's the thought I had in my mind. I say, because if that man didn't come July 4th, 1930, would not have been an Elijah Muhammad, would not have been a Minister Farrakhan, and it wouldn't have been a Million Man March. It was a done deal for me. I say, I'm rolling with the God and the Christ, and they're serving in our midst today until the wheels fall off this car. And when the wheels fall off, we're gonna get out and push. All praise due to Allah.
All praise to Allah. Go ahead, teach, bro. Go ahead, teach. Muhammad Mosque number 52 says, a beautiful sight. October 16, 1995. Brother Stephen Muhammad says, ASA Fort Worth number 52. To continue members of special edition. Latoria Mosley applauding. People showing you love all across the country. Bro, Minister. Yes, sir. My next question is, in your life, what has been your greatest trial and how have you been able to overcome that trial?
Well, the greatest trial for me, other than trying to lead Black people, was that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan wanted us to go see this documentary called Mount Everest. And he wanted us to see it because there was a lesson that he wanted us to learn from watching it. And I was in Texarkana at the time, and they didn't have an Omni Theater because he wanted to go watch it at the Omni Theater and get the real, like you was actually there climbing Mount Everest.
Yes, right? Sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
you
sir.
Know, and so I went. I had to travel to now think about this. This is ironic, right? I'm living in Texarkana. I'm from Dallas. I had to travel to Fort Worth because Fort Worth was the only place that was showing the documentary, Mount Everest. While I was on that trip, my firstborn son died on that trip. That now I'm doing what I'm trying to do what the minister asked me to do, but in doing this, you know, my son, he was right there at the museum in Fort Worth. I wouldn't think nothing about no Fort Worth, but I'm in Fort Worth, and my son passed, and they took him to the hospital and pronounced him dead because he had a heart condition. Okay, now when I'm in the hospital, the counselors who deal with grief, you know, they come in. They call them grief counselors, right? But when they came in, I made one phone call, right, to the minister in Dallas, because I didn't know anybody in Fort Worth at the time. I made one phone call, and in less than 15 minutes, the hospital was full of Muslims in Fort Worth. Okay, now I'm getting to something, right? And then when the grief counselor saw all of the people coming around, showing up, because I knew some of the believers I knew from when I was in Dallas, and you know, Fort Worth and Dallas, they would, you know, go back and forth. So when they saw, the grief counselor saw all of these Muslims coming in and showing their support, they left. There was nothing for them to do. And I remember them sending me a card telling me how impressed they were at the Muslim family coming out like that to show me support, right? That was a trial, but what allowed me to make it through that trial was the love and the support of the believers who came by my side, and whatever I needed, they were there to suffice that need. So I thank Allah for that. And I remember the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, when he heard about it, just look what he said. He said, well, brother, I pray Allah that he blesses you with another son that will grow up and do great works for Islam. So I have one. He's a soldier, man. You know, I'm working on him, but he's a soldier. You hear me? And yeah, so Allah, you know, Allah still, you know, I still have 4 other children. I love them, they love me. So I'm, you know, it was just a lesson, it was a trial, you know, but what allowed me to get through that trial, you know, is that I had to stay the course, man. And I really, you know, it wasn't until I got audited that I really had a chance to cry. Seriously, because at that time, my wife is with me. I gotta be strong for her. She's falling apart. I had to call her parents and tell them, they start falling apart. I had to go tell my parents, they falling apart. Everybody falling apart, and I'm strong, right? It wasn't until I got audited that I cried. See, because I just kept moving. I just kept staying busy, kept staying busy. But Minister Farrakhan taught us this. He said, man, there's no parent that loses a child and remains the same.
That's right. That's right.
And I remember him saying that Allah is going to prepare you for a great ministry. See? Because sometimes Allah has to bring things in your life that will make you more spiritually sensitive. Okay? That will make you more humble, right? Because when you are helpless and you can't do nothing, you will get humble. Okay, so I tell people all the time, humble yourself before Allah does. That's my advice. But that's how I made it through the trial, brother. All praise due to Allah.
All praises due to Allah. Beautiful, yes, sir. And as Stephen says, facts. So Aisha says, auditing is a blessing. So Katina said, Allah gives you what you need. My sister Naima says, all praise due to Allah. The believers always supported us when we needed the most. Sister Rosa says, this was a trial for all of us that knew you. We were there. Sister Katina says, yes, people just showing you love all across the country. Well said. Teach. Praise be to Allah. Well, Brother Minister, seeing as how you went through that, and may Allah continue to heal you and your family. what advice would you give to others who are dealing with the loss in their life?
Build a relationship with your God.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A personal relationship with God. Because I'm going to tell you something. What auditing does, auditing helps us speed up the process of healing. Okay? But before auditing, Allah was auditing us through the Holy Quran. Okay? Because the Holy Quran is a direct communication from Allah to his servant and through his servant to all of us. Okay? Many trials is in my early days of Islam, trying to adjust my life to this, this new way of life. I remember practicing my first Ramadan and reading the Quran all the way through. And whenever I would go through something, brother, I would go to that Holy Quran and I would always find an answer. Okay. Nobody can really comfort us or equal the comfort that Allah can give to us through a state of peace of mind and contentment. Because he always shows you, listen, you may have lost this, but don't forget this blessing over here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Don't take your eyes off of this blessing, that blessing. There's always something to be thankful for. And the Holy Quran says, if you are grateful, I will bless you with more. That's what Allah says in the Quran. So if you want to, and Brother Jabril used to teach us this all the time. He really said that Muslims don't have time to be depressed. We got too much work to do. He said, so if you feeling like you depressed, he said, if you just start counting your blessings, you can come up out of that feeling sorry for yourself. And we have all kind of blessings. We may be upset because our car ain't working right, but you still got 2 eyes to see, 2 ears to hear, right? You still got food on your table and you complain about little things, little trials that come up in your life. Count your blessings. As long as you still on top of the earth, you got something to be thankful for. You got life. If you still here, God got something for you to do. And I remember at my funeral, the funeral procession of my son, believers did come out from all over the region. They came out. And I said, you know what? I said, I'm not going to let his life be in vain. I'm going to work. I'm going to continue to work, and because he was proud of me, even as a youngster. He would just say, I love you, Daddy. I love you. He was very beautiful. And I said, well, I'm going to keep working in his name, and not let his name be forgotten. So, yes, brother, my advice to anybody that's going through trial is always look for the lesson that Allah wants you to learn. Because anytime Allah takes a life, then they have learned all the lessons that they needed to learn in this life. So Allah takes you. But if you're still here, then that means you got some more lessons you need to learn. So just ask Allah what lesson you need to learn. And once you see the lesson, you can cope with it better. Thank you.
Man, thank you, bro, man. So you will help healing me and many of us as we watch. Sister Lasanya Fuller Muhammad says Jalil Kasim Muhammad with the heart. I'm assuming that's your wife. That's your wife? That's your wife?
That's my wife.
That's your wife. Praise be to Allah. May Allah continue to heal you and bless you, sister. I can't even fathom that. Praise be to Allah. Tamikwa Muhammad, teach Minister Lee. People just showing you love all across the country. So Salima, bear witness. Everybody's bearing witness. Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Audience helped to speed up the process. People giving quotes. Excellent. All right, and I can't wait to put this on YouTube, y'all. So on YouTube, let's make sure we show love to our brothers, minister. I can't wait to meet you in person too, brother minister, so we can break bread and discuss some things as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My next question for you, sir, is what has been your greatest joy in life?
Oh, wow. My wife, my children. And I was at the Holy Day of Atonement in Atlanta. When I think it was the Fox Theater.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And after that meeting, I had the opportunity to meet with Minister Farrakhan in his suite. And this was the first time he asked me this question. He never asked me this question before. He said, brother, are you married? And at that time, I believe it was 26 years, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I said, 26 years, sir. He said, what? He said, you look 26 years. But you know, bad relationships make you look old fast, brother.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
And so I'm sitting there. I mean, first I was like, I didn't know what to say, but then I was like, well, Brother Minister, I mean, thank you. Right? Because I mean, A, I wouldn't know how to eat to live if it wasn't for you. Right? B, I wouldn't know how to hold my marriage together if it wasn't for you. You understand? So I thank Allah for what that man has taught me. You know, of course, it's always wonderful to be in his presence. But what Mr. Farrakhan has given me in the way of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and guidance to make my life better and easier, I just want to bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is a rightly, divinely guided man. There's nothing he's ever told me or us to do. Well, I'm gonna speak of myself personally. Nothing he ever told me to do that if I did it, things didn't work out right. If you try to do it the way you want to do it, it don't work out. But there's nothing that he's never told me wrong. I'm gonna put it like that, right? And to follow his, I give all the credit to him standing back up and teaching what he has taught for these last 40 years. But yeah, that's what brings me joy, brother. You know, my wife and my children. You know, because it's Allah, and then family, and then nation, right? Because that's who we're really fighting for. We're really fighting for our family. And you heard one of the sisters mention this lecture series that I was on, rebuilding the Black family.
Yes, sir.
You know, because that's just my, you know, that's my focus. You know, we got to focus on the family. And if you ever come to Mosque number 52, you'll see that we are very family-oriented mosque, right? I remember Brother Jabril came down one day to perform a wedding, and Brother Jabril, when the Sunday meeting was over, we sat down and everybody was, you know, sitting at a table. We had some little bean soup and whatnot. Everybody was laughing and talking, and Brother Jabril didn't want to leave. And he looked at me, he said, okay, brother, I can tell you telling me it's time to leave. But he didn't want to go. But he said that always stuck with him, the atmosphere of fellowship that we had, because I like to focus on family. And God came to make a new family. And that's so right. we try to be a family-oriented mosque. Yes, sir.
Beautiful. All praises due to Allah. People showing you love all across the country. Okay, great. My next question for you, Brother Minister, is what type of music do you listen to?
Wow. I mean, nowadays, I really don't have a lot of time to listen to music, man. But when I do listen to music, I like that smooth jazz now.
Okay.
I like smooth jazz now. There are some Kendrick Lamar has a new album out that is very good. So I like, you know, every now and again I would listen to rap music, up-to-date rap music. Okay, I'm still a rap fan, but I'm still, hey, look, man, what you call the golden age of hip-hop, huh? Please throw that on, and you might see me pop lock or whatever I gotta do, throw a few bars or whatever, you know. But yeah, so I listen to some old school hip hop, you know. Sometimes as I'm giving a lecture, some old R&B songs will slip out my mouth, you know.
Yes, sir.
Because my stepfather on Saturday mornings, we had to clean up the house, and he always had some, you know, some old Marvin Gaye playing and some old Stephanie Mills playing, and
yes, sir.
You know, other old R&B. So I listen to that. You know, I actually like the Motown, the old Motown. So different generations of music. You know, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. So you know, I'm a lover of music of all genres. You know, so that's what I listen to. Yes, sir.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. But Minister, we can ask 2 more questions for you. My next question, and thank everyone who continues to show you love. A lot of people say Mosque number 52 representing showing love with hearts and things of that nature. the departure of the Most High Minister Farrakhan is, is imminent. It's coming up. What advice would you give to us all across the country in keeping our faith in his absence, physical absence?
Brother, listen. My advice is don't wait for the drought. Okay, a drought. There's a surah in the Quran called the drought.
That's right. That's right.
And a drought is when you have a famine. And the scriptures prophesy of a time of a famine. And the famine that it's talking about is not just food, but it's a famine for the lack of the word of God. Don't wait for that type of famine. Okay. I tell people right now, man, you can go to finalcall.com. You can look up old articles that the minister put on there, and you can start studying those articles. And one day, if you do it enough, you're going to realize what I came to realize. This man has given us everything we need.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You understand? So and he's already given us what to do in his departure, right? You keep doing what you've been doing. You keep studying the word and you keep applying that word and putting it into practice, okay? The wisdom that he has already laid out for us is to prepare us, okay? So don't wait until, we always waiting for the next lecture, right? I'm waiting for the next lecture, and then we all run out. No, man, he has laid out a feast before us. All of the tapes and all the CDs and all of the millions of words. Don't wait. See his value now while he's among us. Start getting into that word now and get rooted in that word so that when the propaganda comes, because the enemy is waiting for the and when the minister makes his departure, the propaganda machine is gonna go full force. But the scriptures say the dragon spewed out a flood of water. That's propaganda.
That's right.
Right? But the earth swallowed up the flood.
That's right.
See? But if the earth is dry, like in Texas, it get hot in Texas, bud.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. When it get hot in Texas and the ground gets real dry, when it rains, the water still can't permeate the ground because the ground is too hard. So now you got a flood.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if the earth is going to swallow up the water, the earth has to be cultivated.
Yes, sir.
Right? It has to be ready to receive so that it actually can swallow up that and take in that water. So prepare yourselves now by studying the word of God like you have never studied the word before. Study the minister's words now, right now, like you've never studied those words before, and get rooted in his words so that when people come to you with all kind of whisperings, the whisperings of the slinking devil.
Yes, sir.
I'm telling you, the same way the Holy Quran has given us the best arguments, Mr. Farrakhan has already given us the best arguments for whatever the enemy throws at us in his absence. But don't wait. As I said before, the way you prepare yourself for fear is be prepared. That's half the battle.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you prepare, that's half the battle, man. So gird up your loins now. Put on the whole armor of God now, okay? And get into that truth like you've never gotten to that truth before. All praise due to Allah.
All praise due to Allah. Beautiful. Excellent teaching, Brother Minister. One last question for you, sir. What would you like your legacy to be, sir?
Man, that I left it all on the court, Brother Joshua.
Yes, sir.
That I did the best that I could with what I had. I'm not perfect. In fact, there's no such thing as a perfect mosque. If there was a perfect mosque and I walked up to that doors of that perfect mosque, they would turn me away. They wouldn't let me in because they know I mess up everything, okay? I have not been a perfect laborer, but I've been faithful, okay? And if people can say Brother Lee gave his all to this mission, to serve the people of God, that's what I want my legacy to be, a soldier. Brother Lee was a soldier. Okay, I'm a student minister now, but I want everybody to still know I'm a soldier. I still get out with the Final Call newspaper, right? If push come to shove, I do whatever needs to be done. I remember one time the minister came to St. Luke Church. It was a church, okay? I think it was St. Luke, right? That was the name of it. And you know, when the minister come to town, everybody on security, right? Everybody, right? So we were shorthanded and people was coming in, need to be checked. Well, once you learn how to check, you never forget how to check. I said, step over here, brother. We check it. You know, we on post. We never stop being soldiers, man. You know, so I want that to be my legacy, man. That I was a faithful servant, you know, and I helped Minister Farrakhan in this mission as best that I knew how to do, brother. And may Allah be pleased.
Excellent. And once again, Brother Minister, on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast, we want to thank you for your sacrifice and the sacrifices of your family. May Allah continue to bless you all and the believers of Muhammad Mosque number 52, which has been reiterated in all of the comments. So now I cannot forget Mosque number 52 holding it down in Fort Worth, Texas, and all of the believing family members there. Thank you for coming on the People's Podcast. This has been a great delight on this Sunday evening. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, and thank you.
Thank you again. And thank you all for watching.